What's going on, everyone? So the NBA season is right around the corner, and I could not be more excited. And I want to dive into kind of the super teams that were built this year. I mean, most of them were already really good, but there's three teams in particular that really made big pushes to try to go win an NBA championship this year. And those are the teams that I kind of want to dive into and kind of just go over, like, do we think that they're going to be hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy at the end of the year? Do we think that they're going to be lackluster and disappointing? Like, what are the odds, all that stuff? I want to go over all that, break it down. Of course, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions, so let me know down in the comments section below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button and let's dive into it. So, first one I want to talk about is Milwaukee. Talk about the Bucks, right? Milwaukee went and got Damian Lillard, which was massive, right? They essentially gave up Drew Holiday, swapped Drew for Damian Lillard, and this is something that Milwaukee needed to do, right? You already heard Giannis basically saying, like, I'm gone unless something crazy happens. And so Milwaukee went out and made something crazy happen. And out of left field, went and got Damian Lillard when Damian Lillard looked like he was heading to Miami. And look, Milwaukee before Damian Lillard was already going to be one of, if not the best teams in the entire league, right? They have arguably the best player in the NBA, and they're primed, ready to go on that run, right? I think that there's a real possibility that if Giannis doesn't get hurt, that they very likely make the NBA Finals last year. I know Miami fans probably think otherwise, but I just think a healthy Giannis, I don't think Miami wins that series, but that's just me. Many people feel otherwise. But again, Damian Lillard solves a lot of Milwaukee's problems, right? That consistent go-to scorer. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, those were the two guys that were basically handling a good majority of the offensive workload. Problem is, they're not that guy, right? Like, they're not the guys you want to rely on a regular basis to go get you 20 to 25 a game, right? They're too inconsistent, and and they're both kind of the third option rather than the second option, where Dame kind of puts everything in order, right? Chris Middleton gets to go from the second option to now he's the clear-cut third option, right? So it takes a lot of pressure off of him. Damian Lillard steps in. He gets to be the primary ball handler and the main scorer because he is the better offensive player than Giannis, right? And Giannis kind of said he'll let Dame run the show. And now Milwaukee gets that closer, which they desperately need, and they get that consistent score. But they lose one of the best on-ball defenders. They lose their point of attack defender, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on Brook Lopez and Giannis, right? Chris Middleton, he's going to have to kind of step up and play more of that role of, like, hey, let me be the point of attack guy. Let me play that Drew Holiday role, which I don't know if he's fully capable. I'm not saying he's a bad defender by any stretch, but there's a big difference with the way that Drew Holiday attacked the offense on the defense side of the basketball and Chris Middleton. Also, are they going with Malik Beasley and Damian Lillard to start? Because you might have the worst defensive backcourt in the entire league. That's a real concern, right? So defensively, I do think Milwaukee takes a step back. And I do think that there is a lot of pressure put on your front court to be great defensively. And I also, the big elephant in the room is, will Damian Lillard and Giannis actually work, right? On paper, it seems seamless, right? You got the big little, you got the shooter and then the big interior threat, right? We've seen it a million times. We've seen it work a million times. But both guys are used to being the guy, right? This isn't a guy going from, basically being the number two, like Middleton, where he's like, I was the number two, arguably the number three guy, going to the clear-cut number three guy, right? I think he'll adjust seamlessly. Damian Lillard has always been the guy. Ball is in his hands, right? He's making the calls. He's making the decisions. And look, I understand Giannis said Damian Lillard's the point guard. I'm going to let him be the point guard. everything sunshines and rainbows until things really start happening. And Giannis all of a sudden is like, dude, I'm averaging, 23 and I need to get to my 30 or whatever. Or I'm only getting 20 shot attempts instead of 23 or whatever, right? It's just all of those things start questioning, right? Bucks start having success. Dame's getting some credit and stuff. Does Giannis, his ego go, hey, I'm happy for him. Like, right? Like, and some people are probably looking at it as like, of course he will. Yeah, until he is. You got to keep in mind, he's always been the guy. This is his team. He's talked about heavily. He wants the accolades. He wants to be the guy. He wants to be the greatest player ever. Right? Like, so, again, it's not as clear, cut, and dry. We've seen plenty of teams put together ridiculous rosters, put superstars together, several superstars together, and it just doesn't work out. Not saying it won't, but one of these two, either Dame or Giannis, one of those two are going to have to take a step back. And are they going to be able to do it? And then who closed? Like, Damian Lillard should be the closer down the stretch, without a doubt. But games on the line, does Giannis look at it and go, like, this is my team, I've been the guy that, like, or is he okay with deferring to Dame? Time will tell. We'll see. But moving on, the Boston Celtics. Now, Boston going and getting Kristaps Porzingis, he's looked good so far for them. I thought it was questionable, right? One, I don't think Boston needed an upgraded Al Horford. I just didn't. Secondly, you had to give up Marcus Smart. And look, Kristaps Porzingis is the better player, but what Marcus Smart gave that Boston team was massive. More so than the production on the basketball court. He was the clear-cut leader, the voice in the locker room, the tough guy, the one mental tough guy too, right? Boston's biggest problem is just mental fortitude. They fall apart and crumble, and especially Jason Tatum just completely disappears at times. And Marcus Smart was the one guy that could kind of rally the troops. And I think that really hurt him. But then they went and got Drew Holiday. Now, I think Drew Holiday fixes and helps a lot of what Marcus Smart brought on the basketball court. Does his voice resonate the way Marcus Smart's did? Because again, it wasn't just the production. I think Drew Holiday will give Boston a little more stability. I think it gives them that toughness, that point of attack defensive guard. You can make an argument with Boston that they have the best position by position in the entire league, right? As far as starting five go. I'm not saying that they have the best point guard, the best shooting guard. No, I'm talking about like if you look at every starting five in the league and you go player by player, I think Boston, you can make a genuine argument, have the best starting five in the league as far as defensive balance, offensive balance, all of that. But there are concerns that I have. One, their interior defense. Losing Time Lord, I think, is going to help massively. Or is going to hurt massively. And, Porzingis and Al Horford, I don't know how they deal with teams being aggressive and attack. It's going to put a lot of pressure on your backcourt, right? And a lot of pressure on Tatum and Brown. I mean, maybe they go with Horford in the starting lineup and bring Derek White off the bench. That's always a possibility, right? They have options there, but even then, even if they do go that route, and let's say they do put Horford, I still have concerns about their interior defense. I don't know, how do you stop some of those bigger teams? Also, so Boston last year was the only team in the league that was top 5 in offense, top 5 in defense. So, again, their problem wasn't, we need to go get another 20-point a game guy and Kristaps Porzingis. Their problem wasn't like, we need to go get a veteran guy in Drew Holiday. It was, we need to just be mentally tough and not completely disappear. Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis doesn't stop Jason Tatum from just being non-existent in the fourth quarter. Now, maybe the idea is like, oh, maybe we're good enough to where we can kind of offset that. That's a possibility. But you're still going to need Jason Tatum, especially come playoff time. And does he just continue to disappear? There's no reason Jason Tatum should have 30 through 3 quarters and looking like, the greatest player ever to like basically being worthless and shouldn't even be on the court in the fourth. I mean, he wasn't just like disappearing, standing in the corner. No, I mean, he was terrible, right? Like unplayable at times. And again, it just falls into that mental. My problem with Boston is I can't believe in Boston until they prove to me otherwise. Right? For like the last 5-7 years, it's like all we talk about is Boston. Boston's, this is Boston's year. Boston's going to be great. And every year they're in the conference finals, and every year it's the same story. They've made it to one NBA finals, and they lost because of their lack of mental toughness. Right? Like the other big problem with Boston is like their depth is like non-existent now. Right? Like their drop off is massive. Like I said, they might have the best starting five in the league position by position, but their drop off to the bench it's rough. So is Boston going to be able to kind of weather the storm? Are they going to be able to stay healthy enough come playoff time? It's a real question. But last team I want to talk about is the Phoenix Suns. Now, Phoenix is the biggest question mark in my opinion because look, on paper, give Phoenix the NBA championship now, right? I mean, if we're just going off of paper, I mean, come on. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Nurk. And look, I know a lot of people think, why did the Phoenix Suns trade Ayton for Nurk? Because Nurk is the better fit, right? It's not, we've seen teams throw together super teams. I'm a Laker fan, right? Familiar with me, I have a Lakers channel. Every other year, the Lakers have the best team in the league on paper, right? Like, I mean, you go look at the 2021 roster, right, with like Carmelo and all that. Like on paper, it's the greatest team ever assembled. In reality, they were one of the worst teams ever assembled. All right, the Lakers, Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, Kobe Bryant, Metta, Pau Gasol, like, stop. That team, give them the trophy. They're going 82-0, and guess what? They don't. So I'm very familiar with like putting guys on paper and it not working out. So it's not just about talent. It's about fit. It's about need. Nurk is a guy that solves a lot of the boxes that the Suns need. He's a better defensive player than Ayton. He also is a guy that doesn't need the ball like Ayton does, isn't going to cry and complain about not getting the ball, and is a better playmaker, which Phoenix needs. Like, you can run your entire offense through Nurk and in like a poor man Jokic way. I haven't really seen them do that, like they have in spots, but not as much as I think that they should, right? Bradley Beal is supposed to be the point guard. I don't know how that's going to look, right? Because, look, it's one thing to be a guy that can make plays. It's another thing to have to be the guy that has to make plays, right? Bradley Beal is used to having the ball in his hands, going and dropping 30, and also going and getting 5 assists, right? He can make plays, but he doesn't have to. He could go and drop 30 and not have to get an assist, and no one will say anything. He's now going from that to the third option, and he's going from that to having to make plays as the point guard, right? Guys can fill in spots. Guys can fill in for games, whatever. It's another thing to full-time be that guy that has to be the key distributor and make sure everybody eats, right? So Bradley Beal is going to have to adjust. It's going to be a huge adjustment for him. It's going to be a huge adjustment for everybody, right? If it works, they're going to be tough, right? Another positive, I really think Phoenix did an excellent job filling out their roster, right? Like, I look at Dallas. I think Dallas did terrible. I don't think Dallas is anything more than a play-in team, right? Like, genuinely. Phoenix, I didn't think they'd be able to round out their roster as well as they did. But they don't have any real blue chip rotation depth, which is a problem, right? They don't have any of those guys that are, proven, tried and true, right? Like, they got guys that are solid, could have moments, could have games, but they don't have like those guys where you're just like, okay, like that's There's your 6th, 7th, 8th guy, right? Also, defensively, like, who plays defense on Phoenix, right? And that is something that's going to need to be done. They're also going to be a heavy jump shooting team. And we've seen jump shooting teams don't win. It's really hard to win when you're a jump shooting team, like primarily a jump shooting team. And that's what they are. You know, you get cold for a couple games and that's it. It's over. They're injury concerns, right? And I understand injuries are a concern for all teams, right? And, you know, I always hear people like, oh, you know, well, you're a Laker fan, so you're talking about injuries. Yeah. But the Lakers have the depth to weather that. Phoenix doesn't. If like 2 of these 3 guys end up missing any significant time, Phoenix might be a play-in team. Seriously, like Bradley Beal in the Eastern Conference with like Kuzma and Porzingis and stuff like that was a play-in team, right? Like now you're telling me like if Devin Booker and Kevin Durant miss significant time, do you think Bradley Beal and Nurk is going to be enough to carry you in the juggernaut that is the West? I don't see it. And also the difference between the Suns and some of these other teams is Kevin Durant has played, 129 games or something like that in the last, 4 years. So you can't count on him to be on the basketball court. Bradley Beal is hurt, he misses a month every other month, right? And Devin Booker has missed some time lately and has struggled with injuries the last, year and some change, right? So, again, it's not that, there's a lot of question marks about Phoenix. A lot. More than I think any of the other teams. But if it works, it's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? What do you think make out of these 3 teams? Do you think any of these teams will be a disappointment? Do you think any of these teams will underwhelm? If I had to pick any of them, to me, it's either Milwaukee or Phoenix. I think Milwaukee is going to take a step back, but I think they'll be better for the playoffs, if that makes sense. And Phoenix, if it doesn't work, I think it's going to be a disaster. But time will tell. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts and opinions, how you feel, down in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.